It is clear what they want now, as a recent report has come out about the Habs' top draft candidates, and one name, a 40-goal scorer out of the WHL, stands above the rest, with Habs staff visiting over 10 times this season. We got to dive into the newest report on top Habs draft prospects. Plus, we got to talk about the 2C situation. And with Brock Nelson coming off the market, multiple other UFAs looking to want to stay where they are, this throws a bit of a wrench in the Habs' plans. And also a little note on Laval and a big update on Pascal Vincent, and he is likely to leave the Laval Rocket. We got a bunch of great stuff to get into on this episode of Habs Digest. Before we do, guys, you've been subscribing like crazy. Thank you so much. We are this close to 21,000. Huge goal. If you could just hit the button down below, we really appreciate you being here. Jesse, let's start with Laval. Now, look, this season did not end the way any of us wanted it to at the hand of the Charlotte Checkers. I mean, we had a lead. That goal, while we were on a 5-minute power play for the major after that dirty hit that Gustav Lindstrom took, Habs legend Gustav Lindstrom, look, couldn't get it done. Jacob Fowler had a solid performance. Kaiden Primeau didn't have the best playoffs. It is what it is. The Rocket are done. Joshua Waugh, a good playoffs. Guys like Oliver Captain and Owen Beck showing up a bit. Barré Boulay and Dauphin showing up as well. But look, I mean, before we dive into exactly the Pascal Vincent, Jesse, I just want to give a shout out to the Laval Rocket this year. One of the youngest teams in the AHL, going as far as they did, making it to the conference finals. For a young team with little experience, this was honestly such an impressive season and such a great thing for these guys to develop.
Absolutely. And we do need to keep that bigger picture in mind. It's a tough end for an amazing season they have. Obviously, just that much more that they had that 2-0 lead in this game, and to allow those 3 consecutive goals. Can we just say, though, that final goal on Jacob Fowler in that third period, that was not on our boy Jacob. Like, the ice was bad. That mostly on the D-men there, the bad ice as well, but I'm not putting that one on Fowler by a country mile here. But you really have to feel like this is a young team. They're going to learn from this, and they're going to be back. Like, this experience that they could get this year, it matters. Having a good AHL team is so important. As we see, it's, teams like the Florida Panthers, there's some of those final clubs that are remaining, right, in the AHL right now, are some of the best, well-organized teams in the whole league. So you got to feel like they're going to be back. They're going to be well served from this whole experience. Joshua Waugh, Owen Beck getting on the scoreboard last night, definitely matters. But like, for our boy Pascal Vincent, like, I think he deserves, definitely, even though he has been so great for this organization, I think he probably knew, okay, have to take a step back to take a step forward. I mean, for all the great work that he's done, he definitely deserves another shot in the NHL. I could definitely see him, potentially going to the Islanders, where we know Patrick was looking for a little bit of support. I could see that French connection there. And you have to feel like with the new GM of Dach coming in, they wanted to keep Patrick Waugh because he's got still a fair amount of contract left. That being said, they're going to give him his opportunity. But if he does go to the Isles, it's very much, he's earmarked. If, things don't go well for Waugh and he keeps doing all the great things that he's doing, for him to actually become the next head coach of the New York Islanders. Again, I just got a lot of good things to say about Pascal Vincent, about this AHL team this year. For sure, we wanted to go a little bit further there, but that the team's going to be back, and he did an amazing service for the organization this year with such phenomenal coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, again, the report does say, this is from Malcolm Normandin, saying that he is going to leave the Habs organization. Now, again, this hasn't been made official by any means, but the indications are there, like something we've been saying all year. And look, he wants to be an assistant coach somewhere, and I think the Isles are a great fit, like you said, Jesse. Now, the report does say keep an eye on the Lightning, because he's quite high on their list, so that could be good too. But regardless, like, Pascal Vincent did such a great job leading this team this year, instilling great instincts into our young players, making them ready for that NHL jump. We saw it when some of these guys got called up for games this year. Really excited to see where he goes. Sad that Laval is losing out on a great coach after just 1 year. But hey, like you said, you got to take a step back to take a step forward and wish him the best in the future. So leave some love for Pascal Vincent down below. But Jesse, I just want to quickly, before we get into this draft talk about the 2C situation, because it's been something we've wanted to talk about all year. And with Brock Nelson signing the 3-year by $7.5 million AAV contract, be ready for some sticker shock, everyone. Like, we're talking Lane Hutson's extension. It's going to be more than I think we think, and other free agent names. It's going to be a bit of a sticker shock as this cap is going up, because we're used to the flat cap, right? But Nelson got signed, and Marc-Olivier Baudouin had a funny tweet, which I wanted to show. He said, look, Bennett wants to stay in Florida. Duchesne wants to stay in Dallas. Giroux wants to stay in Ottawa, ... Dach's going to be the second line center in October. Of course, that's after the recent report from Chris Johnson that Duchesne wants to stay there. Jesse, with the 2C market, at least in UFAs, drying up, I think this kind of throws at least a little bit of a wrench in the Habs' plans, in the sense that, I don't think Kent Hughes would have ever made a move that he doesn't genuinely think is the best course of action long-term for the Montreal Canadiens, and I do think that a trade is more likely. I think we're both in agreement on that. However, losing some, backup options, if that even exists for Kent Hughes, or maybe even options that were high up on his list, like maybe Duchesne was high on his list, maybe Bennett was, to bring in, that kind of stopgap guy if it's Duchesne, or longer-term Bennett. Do you think this throws a wrench in the Habs' plans at all? I mean, look, it's not going to deter Kent Hughes' long-term plans, but it is kind of crazy to see that all these guys don't seem to want to move at all.
For sure. It's, definitely the larger pool that you have to draw from, definitely the better. We know that Kent Hughes is searching for the stars. So unless he hears otherwise, he's, consider that everybody's available. That being said, is like trade, considering like how many picks and prospects that we have right now, probably would be the best in terms of just kind of leveraging what we have instead of overpaying in free agency. I think probably a little bit of a better feng shui there. That being said, is that Dach will not be our 2C next year. This is a PSA. I know that this was said in jest, but I think it's important that we just clarify it, because Kent Hughes has gotten his marching orders from Jeff Molson, from also Jeff Gordon, and the man doesn't miss. Like, he knows what his job is this summer. That first priority, that right-hand D, that's great. Less of a need now with Konushkov coming over potentially. But that 2C glaring need, so important, especially with Demidov coming through. Like, Kent's going to pull all the stops, and maybe, having some opportunities there. Those weren't our first kind of go-to options, we think. Kent is going to know that he needs to pay, really, to get that best player going forward. That being said, like, with Brock Nelson being taken off the market, I'm just wondering if, Josh, if that maybe opens up somebody that you've been really high on in the past, and that's a certain Martin Necas, where we know that he is primarily a right winger. He's listed as a center. He's played mostly right winger his entire career. This guy's completely stepped up. I'm just saying, like, just to have him on a dark horse as our radar, because this is a player that Kent has said that he has had interest in the past. For whatever reason, it hasn't really come together. Probably positionally there. And I'm saying, like, not the ideal fit, because we know in the past of taking somebody who's a winger and trying to put them as a center. That being said, I got a lot more faith in Necas to be able to fill in at that position. He has a lot more production and body of work than like a Jonathan Drouin in the past when we were trying to do that. Just saying, it's interesting to keep on our radar. Not a perfect fit positionally there, but just interesting to see how this will open things up for the Avalanche, because, I mean, they're going to have a lot of bills to pay this summer.
They will, and like the thing with Necas, he got that one more year, and then he's a UFA, and I think if Montreal is going to do anything with him, I think you'd have to talk about, you'd want to extend with the Montreal Canadiens. And again, he's coming off a point-per-game season. Like, 28 points in 30 games with Colorado, but he had 83 points in, I think, 79 games this year. So he's a phenomenal player, like you said, but Colorado's got some bills to pay. Is he part of their long-term thing? We've heard some rumors on that front, but let us know your thought on the 2C, even Marty Necas. Maybe that'll have to be a subject for further conversation in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. But we got to get into our final topic here today, Jesse, and that is talking about the draft. Now, the first thing I want to show you here, this is the ranking of this prospect we're talking about. I mean, spoiler, we've talked about him already. He's probably in the thumbnail. It's Carter Bear. And I just want to dive into this here because you can see him being ranked as high as number 8, even number 7 by the Hockey News Ferrari. Bob McKenzie has him at 15. Some people have him there in the 20s. The thing with Carter Bear, I mean, he's an unbelievable talent. You can see here 40 goals for the Everett Silvertips in 56 games. He looks unreal, and we've talked about him recently as could be a good target for Montreal, Jesse, as we got those 2 mid-first round picks. Even if we want to move up slightly in the first round, do like what we did last year. We were a couple picks behind Hage. We wanted to trade up to make sure we got him. It's something that Kent Hughes has shown he's willing to do. But it's really the report from RG.org that is linked down below, that if you guys want to go check it out, I really suggest you do, because there's other names in this article too. But they basically say, while the Canadiens have done an impressive job of masking their draft intentions, it's no secret within scouting circles that Carter Bear has been on their radar since the start of the season. A member of the club visited the Everett Silvertips nearly a dozen times, which isn't just routine coverage, it's targeted interest. Now, the issue again with Carter Bear, Jesse, is that he's coming off an Achilles tear. But even he said his physio told him he's a month ahead of schedule and he'll be ready for training camp. So when we're looking at a guy like Carter Bear, how do you see the Montreal Canadiens going after a guy like him, a 40-goal scorer? And what do you think this says for the Habs? To me, it's saying, like, look, we're doing our due diligence. We're not making it clear if we're going to move these picks or not. There's a world where, hey, there's no big trade that we really want to go after. We want to pick for talent. And honestly, I think in that range, there really are not that many people better suited to the Habs than Carter Bear. Again, he's a winger and he might not be available down there, but I love how interested the Montreal Canadiens seem to be in him over some other guys.
For sure, bringing that physicality, that goal scoring. I like just the vision of preparing for the playoffs. We know that we're going to get there. Now this time, it's just really being ready and getting those type of players. Just personally speaking, I love this. The Montreal Canadiens, for sure, they're trying to keep their cards close to the deck as they normally like to do with these prospects here. But I mean, the proof's in the pudding, right? Of going to see a player 12 times, having the scouting staff there, as well as having dinner with him again, getting to know him not just on the ice, but off of it as well. We know that the character, the personality is so important for this Montreal Canadiens organization there as well. That being said, is like, you know, the big thing of why he's kind of a high like reward player, but a little bit of a risk is because the Achilles injuries is a really tough one. For sure, it's a big injury. That being said, he's a smooth skater kind of before this injury. A lot of potential scouts, feel like that it's not going to be really as affected in this case. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like he's a really good fit. That being said, Josh, like if we don't select this player and we do like package like that pick, 16th or 17th overall, just as a side note, like Joshua Watt, it's not just Logan Mailloux anymore. Joshua Watt is also starting to come out. Josh, like what's the probability to you that either a Logan Mailloux or a Joshua Watt is traded this offseason as part of a package move?
Man, I mean, if we were to say the odds at all that they'll be moved and not just limiting to this offseason, at least one of them, I would put it above 90%. This offseason, I'm still staying high. I'm going to say 85%. I don't want to go too crazy because I do think, like, I have so much faith in Kent Hughes choosing only a move that he knows will guaranteed help the Habs longer term. Like, he's not going to ship them in some kind of urgency move just to, oh my God, we need to do something. So that's why I'm like staying pretty low, because look, if the right offer's not there, Kent's not going to pull the trigger. But I'm confident that there are going to be teams looking to shop players. And Jesse, hey, if Montreal's going to move one of them, I think one of these guys is very likely to go. Are you along those same lines there?
Yeah, very high probability. I think like a 75% chance that either Logan Mailloux or Joshua Watt is traded this offseason and then packaged with one of those picks. Just considering how many prospects we have, I could see making a selection there. It's just good to kind of re-up the team in the future. But at the same time, we just have so many prospects. Again, it kind of leads the argument for that trade really being that best option. And Josh, even though a lot of the free agency, we're seeing a lot of teams, players maybe staying put, with all the picks, the prospects we have, I have full confidence in Kent Hughes to really make the right trade for this team to push the needle forward.
He's gonna do something big, him and Gorton. I'm ready to see what's gonna happen this offseason. I'm ready for Gary Bettman to go to the podium like we did when we did the Dach trade. We have a trade to announce. I'll be honest, when that happened, I thought we were trading for another top 4 pick. But hey, who knows what's gonna happen this year? I'm excited to see it, and I know you guys are too. And hey, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Habs news, this is the spot to be, because we got news coming every single day. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Die. Just leave a like while you're down there below. Thank you for tuning in every day as well. Really appreciate you. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.